will die. It depends on the severity of the disease. I'm using the different numbers to describe different disease at the time that they are diagnosed. So what the doctor will tell these two women will be as statistics. He will not tell them anything that is based on biology, on medicine, on their individual state. He will tell them the result of accumulated data that were accumulated along the years by him and by other experts in the field. Now the woman that gets this number, 50%, what is she supposed to do with it? She's going home and starting to talk to her husband and to her daughters and to her sons and to her family relatives, and she says, I have 50% chance of living, of surviving. But shall I be in the 50% surviving, or shall I be in the 50% dead? Or in the 10% and the 90%? Doesn't matter. It still leaves her in a big question mark. And even the doctor that cannot tell her, cannot provide her with more information. Because the doctor doesn't know how the disease is going to evolve, whether a small cell that was sent from the breast cancer is already sitting in the brain or in the bone or in the lung to generate a metastasis, a new tumor that will now grow and will spread. The doctor doesn't know. He doesn't have a way to detect the one cell. The two women looks to him alive from the story, from the examination, from the current result that he was able to take during the minute that he examined them. Well, 5 years will elapse. One woman is dead. She did develop the disease further, and one woman is completely healthy. Indeed, as he said, here we have a sample of two women, and it's 50%. 50 alive and 50 dead. But none of them knew on which route she's going to walk. At the end, we know, but not at the beginning of the journey. And medicine and science will not accept it. I mean, this is not science. We are not in statistics. We are not in Las Vegas. We want to understand, as scientists and as physicians, the route of the disease, and we want to be able to predict scientifically exactly where this woman is going and where this woman is going. Now, the reason that we want to know it is not because we want to tell the woman, listen, you are going to die. It's better that you write your will, talk to the lawyer, say hello to your husband, enjoy the world, just make fun for the rest of the time that God left you. No, that's not the purpose of medicine. We want to understand why her disease is going to develop aggressively and to kill her in order to develop a tool, a pharmacological tool, a therapeutic tool that will cure her. Because for now, the two women look to us the same. We are giving them the same treatment. We are using a very primitive approach to these two women, which we call one size fits all. Two women with a lump in the breast get the same treatment. We take the breast away or the lump away, we irradiate them, we send them to chemotherapy, or the men, we take the tumor in the prostate away, we give the two men chemotherapy, and with the two men it will be the same. One will die out of in agony, out of a severe aggressive disease that will spread to the bone and to the lung, and one will be completely healthy, back to his family, forgot about the event that he ever met this doctor. We want to understand the mechanism of the diseases in order to develop treatment. Now, let's face it simply. The two women, only in our primitive eyes, had the same disease. Indeed, they had but now we know that they didn't have the same disease. Because it cannot be that they had the same disease. Because if one died after the same treatment that the other survived, the simple assumption is that they did not have the same disease. It's only our primitive approach told us that they have the same disease or a similar disease. But at the molecular level, at the very depth of the disease, the woman that died had already the imprint, the fingerprints of an aggressive disease that is going to evolve. And the other woman had the fingerprint of a mild disease, much milder disease. And I want to understand the fingerprints. And the fingerprints are embedded in the beginning of our talk. And the beginning of our talk was the human genome. The fingerprint is embedded in the different genetic repertoire of these two women. They are different genetically. And the only way to understand the difference between these two women or men and to predict this difference will be to go into the DNA, to sequence it completely, to get the human genome of woman A and woman B, men C and men D, and to look into the difference and to understand the mechanistic relevance of this difference. Once we understand the mechanistic difference of this relevance, now we are able to develop drugs to the differences, because we can later on say, now we need back statistics. So the first two women are not going to help us. We are going to now collect another 1,000 women, look at the 1,000 women that died, and at the 1,000 women that survived, look at the genetic difference, and find common denominators in the genomes of those that died versus those that survived. And those genetic differences that led to death will become our new drug targets. This is the way that new pharma companies and scientists are identifying new drug targets. We are going to the sick and we are going to the healthy. We are sequencing the genomes of the two and we are looking to the difference. But we cannot tell the difference between just a sample of two. We need to collect statistically significant number of sick and healthy patients in order to tell that the difference is the one that makes the disease. Because the difference will not, just the difference between the two will not make any, will not add anything to our knowledge. I mean, I know that I'm different from any one of you that is sitting here. I'm a different height, different weight, different intelligence, different everything. I mean, so this, one difference between any one of us here will not tell us the story. I need a statistically different genome on one or two or three or four particular genes between the dead and the healthy one in order to pinpoint and to say, yes, this difference is the cause of the disease. And this difference is the one that I'm going to treat. So the human genome is not something esoteric. It's something that very soon, and very soon I mean in 5 or maybe 10 years, will become a regular hospital or clinic test. When we walk to the clinic, a blood sample will be taken from us, and like it's being taken today for different tests, another test will be added. And that will be sequencing of our entire genome. Now, this will require development of technology to reduce the price from several $1 billion to several $100, and this is already on the way, and to reduce the time from several years to several minutes, and this is already on the way too. So within a few years, 5 to 10 at the most, we shall be able to sequence every single human genome that has 3 billion letters. It's like reading a book that has 3 billion letters. It's several sets of the Encyclopedia Britannica. We shall be able to read it completely. A machine will read it in several minutes with a cost of several $100. We want to convert it into a routine examination, and this is the challenge that we are facing now, but this is the challenge is being met, and it's being realistically met. We are on the way. But this looks all fantastic. Well, you should go to the clinic, the DNA will be sequenced, the new targets for cancer and for Alzheimer's, for Parkinson and for psychiatric disorders and for everything will be there. Is the future that bright? Well, the future is certainly brighter than our current present with these diseases. But nevertheless, I wanted, and that's in the conclusion of my brief introduction, I wanted to point out to you and to highlight to you one small point that you may not have thought of. And that, do we really want to have our genome deposited at the hands of the doctor? Do we really want all this information, which is just a piece, 3 billion letters that constitute our genetic repertoire, do we want it deposited anywhere? Do we want it to be known at all? Now think about it. This piece of information is going to have everything that we have. Maybe not now, but in the future. Let's say that you deposit now something, Let's say that I'm giving now my DNA and my DNA will be sequenced. For now, it's just a piece of information that in many ways is meaningless. But in few years, this information will have much more into it. Because we shall identify the genes that will cause mental diseases, we shall identify the genes that will cause Alzheimer and Parkinson and heart diseases, and maybe the genes that will have effect on our IQ, the genes that determine our IQ, and our imagination and creativity and passion and emotions and I don't know what. Now, if I give my DNA now, I gave it. The information on the disease is not there. But once it will be there, people will be able to go back to the library and see whether I own or possess one of these genes. It's like a book that is sitting on the shelf. The book is useless when it sits on the shelf. The book becomes useful only when I pull it out and read through it and understand what's written. And then I'm putting the book back and then I can go back to it. And each time I can go back and forth to the book. So the DNA that I will deposit tomorrow at the hands of the doctor does contain already, all the information on me, in all my diseases, all my future, everything will be there. Now, then you say, fine. Let's say that there will be, even now when we are going to the doctor, basically we are naked in front of the doctor. We tell him on this, and people tell the doctor the problems, and because we are going to the doctor when we have a trouble, and troubles are not something that we discuss in the open. So we always have confidence that the doctor, and that's basically part of the oath of the physicians, not to disclose information on patients. When you will become doctors, in the last day, before you will get your diploma, in the big ceremony, in the inauguration, in the commencement, you will all swear that the patient information will forever remain secret. So we say, okay, so let's have this piece of DNA remain secret also, and the doctor will keep it. Now, there are many other implications to this information that the doctor, though he wants to keep it secret, may not be able to keep it secret. Let's say that the government will come one day, and the government will decide that they want to have in the service, in the governmental service, only people that have IQ higher than 120. Or the government wants to have employees that will survive 70 years and above, because the government doesn't want to pay insurance for people that at the age of 40 gets heart attack. I mean, or something like that. So the government wants to know how the population looks like. And the government will have a law that will say that all the DNA of all the population should be submitted now to the government, whether it was submitted to the doctors before or not. I mean, this is already interference with our very personal life. Now the information is in the hands of the government. I say, okay, this is also not a problem. Let's say that there will be a law that will forbid the government entry into this information. I mean, the government will never have an entry into this information. It always will remain in the vault, in the safe, deep in the ground of the doctor. It will never leave the doctor's office. Let's say, theoretically. Is there a case that you will want to know yourself what's going on? That you will go to the doctor, let's say in 20 years, when there will be more information about this, and you will say to the doctor, Doctor, I really want to know what will be my fate. I want to know whether I'm going to succumb to Alzheimer, to heart attack, to craziness, to I don't know what. You will say, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Don't tell me about it. There are many people that don't want to know. Well, I want to bring you one example or two of cases in which you will be forced to know what you really don't want to know, but you will have no choice. So I want to push the case further from initial confidentiality with the doctor to the government, to the insurance company that may want to know whether you're going to drive while drunken, whether you have drinking habits. I mean, everything may be there in this DNA. But let's even forget about the insurance company and the government and the military. Let's just talk about ourselves as human beings. And I will bring you one example that you will see that the choice is really difficult. Let's go back to breast cancer. It's just one example, doesn't it? You know, breast cancer has a susceptibility, a genetic susceptibility. There are women that carry a certain gene that are more susceptible to breast cancer than others. Do anybody knows about this?